calling this beginner guitar concepts. And some of this stuff is a little bit of a few things that we covered when you were taking the lessons with me on Skype. I had asked you about the pentatonics and all that stuff, so I put that in there. A lot of pages. Really quick here. On page 1, I'm putting the string names. They have a letter name and a numeric name. And some of the stuff I already know that you know. But it's how to read tablature for guitar and tuning. You wouldn't believe how many people can actually kind of play but don't know how to tune. So when you look at tab, and I'll kind of want to work with you on like some ear training too with this. So I don't know how well this is going to be able, well, I'll zoom in. I don't want to hold it because I want to make sure. I'm probably going to have to hold it. Oh well, that's fine. We can do that. Yep, we're going to hold it. So on this, you've got each one of those. This is the guitar strings. You got 6 lines there that represent the guitar strings, and they have a number name and a letter name out of the alphabet. So we have low E. The bottom line here is your top string on your guitar, the low E. Always when you're reading tablature. Okay, if you're doing actual notation, it's different. It's called staff. It's 5 lines and 4 spaces. Complete different ball game. But there's people that are afraid of tab because they just think it's too ridiculous. It's not. Tablature is very, very easy to read. You basically are dealing with the strings, which are all laid out here. Numbers that are going to represent the frets, as you'll see in the tuning, which is going to be the first thing we're actually going to go over and play today. They will be written on the string that you need to play. So this is standard tuning. And another quick point I want to make, your low E string may be out of tune, the top one. It's not a bad idea on your cell phone or however means, get yourself a free guitar tuner app. But I would like you not to have to depend on that. Use it to dial in the top string, make sure it's tuned to an E, and then we're going to use what's called standard tuning. There's different methods that people use. This is the most common. There's a method using harmonics. They're a little more tricky. We may have covered that on Skype. So the bottom line is your top string, and that is the string number 6. It's also called low E. So string number 1 would be the high E. You have 2 E strings on the guitar, the low and the high. So I want you to look at the second group down there where it says standard tuning. You've got a 5. It's written on the bottom line, which is your top string, the low E. You're going to press that down. Just use your first finger or whatever one's the most comfortable, because fingering on this page is not relevant whatsoever. On any of this, it's not. On this page. Okay? It's about you understanding how to read tablature. Okay? And it's simple. Don't overthink it. So the lines represent the strings. The numbers are going to represent the frets, and they'll be written on the string that you need to play. If you see a 0, that means you're still playing that string, but you're playing it as an open. And when we do standard tuning, we've got 5th fret, low E, and then an open A. I do an arrow pointing to the 5th fret because we want that open A to sound like the 5th fret on the low E string. That just so happens to be an A note. We're tuning an A to an A D to a D, G to G, B to B. You know what I mean? All the way down. And I also put them in parentheses so you can see the groupings of it. Okay? I really want to get your ear dialed in to do this, and it can be time consuming. It's nothing that you'll probably just pick up. People struggle with it. Some people just are more natural at hearing pitch, and others aren't. So we see a 5 low E open A. You're going to see that on the A string as well, the 5th fret, and then an open D. 5th fret on the D, then an open G. 4th fret on the G to an open B. 5th fret on the B to an open high E. So the secondary note is the note we're changing to tune up to the first note of each 2. Alright, and that's another reason I grouped them like that, okay? So that's tuning in fifths and tuning in fourths. Most of it is fourths. Or fifths, I'm sorry. So, to get started here, let's do this. Like I said, fingering doesn't matter at all really on this. We just want to get your ear trained. Press 5th fret low E, try to stay center of the fret, and try to angle the finger up. If we just let them fall where they may, you're going to run into this problem. I remember on our lessons on Skype, that was something we had to work with, man, was those finger angles. That was one of the things that was frustrating you. So keep the knuckle angle up, no matter what finger you're doing this with. Just most people use this one. And we're going to pick the E, and then hit the next string, and they should sound the same. Most important thing, before you even get here, is you got to get this tuned to an E. We need a true E, either off a keyboard if you trust your ear, or the guitar tuner app, or you may have an actual tuner, I can't remember. They're not very expensive. They're good tools to have because make the small investment and it'll help train your ear. So we're going, sounds good. Then the next one is 5th fret on the A. We're going to pick that, and then we want to hear the open D string under it. Remember, the secondary note should sound like the fretted note. And you know, some people will go, well, it still sounds a little different. And people that, you may have been one of them, dude. The tonality is different because the thicker string is going to have a little more lower end on the EQ. And the thinner string is going to be a little more tinty and high. So, you know, try not to listen so close to where you're noticing that. We want same notes there. Then we go to the 5th fret D, play the open G. Remember, if you don't want to do this, Brandon. We just lost our guide note. That's why I put them in subgroupings of 2, so you can hear the one that sounds good and the one we want to sound like that. Once we get that second one right, then we use that string for the guide for the next one, and so on. Alright, so then we move to 4th fret G. This is tuning in fourths. Just think 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th is when you're up on the 5th fret. So 4th fret G, open B, and 5th fret B, open high E. Okay? And then you're set and ready to tune. Or ready to play, actually. But always check that first, man, before you start. Okay, on your tabs. I'm not going to hold it because you got them in front of you. I put tab example number 1. We have 4 examples on the rest of this page. And I put footnotes on all these pages for you. So it's just location of frets and strings for this. Fingering does not matter, and you won't hear me say that very often. I want to make sure you are solid on your tab reading. So 7th fret E, low E. Remember with the pick, you know, you don't want it back too far like that, and you also don't want it up too much. So about like that. And experiment with different pick sizes. Heavies, mediums, and lights. You're going to gravitate towards one more than the other, and you'll probably like the lighter ones. I started with lights, moved on up to medium, and now I'm in between medium and heavy, which is 88 millimeter, which is what I prefer. Okay, so 7th fret. How many times do you see that 7 in your tabs? 2 times, so you pick twice. We shouldn't have any buzzes. Okay, the next thing you see is 2 8s. So let's move to the 8th fret. And you see it written 2 times, so you play it twice. Now if you want, Brandon, you can use 2 fingers. But like I said, that's really the last thing we want to concern ourselves with. Once you're comfortable on the tabs, then you could work out some fingerings. You'll see it skips clear across in your tabs to the bottom line, which is our high E string. Well, the top line on your tabs, which is our bottom string. And you're going to see a 5 written on there 2 times. That means play it twice. You'll see a 7 on the same string, play it twice. You'll see a 3 on the B string, 3rd fret, B string, play it once. Same thing on the G string, play it once, 3rd fret. You see a 1 on the D string, play it once, because it's only written once. And then you see a 0, that stands for an open, and that's on string 5, the A string. There's no real melodic content. This is not, these are just, you know, making sure you're reading your tabs good. Then we move to number 2. I just tried to mix them up. They're just random notes. These just happen to be in the E major scale here. But 2nd fret low E, open low E, 4, low E, 2, low E, and then you'll see the A string, 4 zeros. That means you're going to play the open A 4 times. Then you look on the top of those 6 strings, which is our high E, you're going to see a 2, an open, a 4, a 2, then on the B string, 2 opens, and 2 first frets. Number 3, playing multiple strings at once. Another word for that is strum, and we did get into that with some of the lessons. I remember we were working on, I don't know if it was 311, probably was. But anyways, when you see numbers all stacked like you do in example 3, you have to hit them at the same time, which means you may have to adjust your pick a little bit. Instead of just having it fight, put a little bit of an angle and brush over the 2 strings. So you're going to see open on the D and G, you're going to see it written 2 times, so you're going to strum 2 times. This is picking. So far everything we've done is picking, 1 note at a time. Now we're entering strumming. And one thing you can do is stop that pick, try to stop it on the B string. That was something we were working on, huh? On Skype. Takes a while to get used to it, but after you do it enough, when you get into power chords, those are 2-string chords, and you'll get used to that distancing. But try, if you can, to stop it on that next string. Which, if you have a fat pick, it's going to be a little harder to do. You really have to rely on the wrist and the angle. Okay, so we have that twice. Then we see it again twice, but there's an extra open on the B string. So now we're going to strum D, G, and B 2 times because it's written 2 times. See, I'm stopping the pick on the high E now. If you don't do that, you run the risk of hitting the high E, and we don't want that. You want to have control. Okay, but it's written 2 times. Then it expands into open D, open G, open B, which is what we just did, and the 3rd fret on the high E. Now, like I said, fingering irrelevant, so pick what you want. I'm going to use my 3rd. This is actually part of a G major chord. It's strumming, which shouldn't be too tough, hopefully. You don't really have any fingers that can get in the way. You're going to strum the last 4 strings 4 times because it's written 4 times. And now we can just strum as far as we need to. I mean, you don't want to do that, but a little more comfort there. Just make sure the pick angle's good, okay? Number 4 is our last one for reading tab. I call it picking as an arpeggio, which is just picking the notes, and I use the same chord that we just did the strum, the G major, and so I'll just keep that 3rd finger there on the 3rd fret high E. You'll see a hold line, which I darkened, that goes over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. You're just going to play them in order. They're not stacked, so you know it's not strumming. One after the other, but the hold line means to set everything down. So don't play the opens till this is set up. And play strings 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it sounds like this. And then if you look at the next section, it'll have another hold over it. Before you start playing those opens, check and see if there's any fretted numbers. There is. 1st fret, high E. So set that down and then play the exact same thing. You'll see open D, open G, open B, 1st fret high E, and then back to B, G, D. And that's part of what's called a G7 chord. Now you can actually connect that and make it a little melody. This one does have melodic content, so just kind of play around with them. So that's it for page 1. I did, like I said, there's footnotes on the bottom, and I'm reminding you to make sure your low E is tuned up. We've already covered that. So let's move on to page 2. And finger exercises. These, I put side notes for number 1 here on page 2 of things that are involved in it. It's alternate picking, down pick, exercise, strengthening, solos, and speed. These are all elements that you can apply to this. So it's an 8-note pattern. Always try to memorize these patterns. Go open, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2. At first you can play everything down, but once you've memorized that pattern, you'll see in your tabs I put the notations for downs and ups, and that's called alternate picking. In other words, down will always be followed with an up, and that will help you with the speed section of it. But like I said, you'll see in the footnotes all the things these cover. That was all alternate picked. And then from there, you would just move it up a half step. A half step means 1 fret. Take everything except the open and repeat it. So if you memorize the pattern, the rest will be easy. Open, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3. It's the exact same movements, right? And then just work it up the string until you feel like working your way down, and then play it backwards. It's an 8-note pattern. So at the end of the day, that's what matters, and move it around. Because I want you to get used to the distancing between these frets. You can see how they get smaller up here. You got to adjust your fingers to all that stuff. Alright, so number 2 works on hammer-on, speed. You can use it as a warm-up. It's chromatic, which means it moves in half steps, and for soloing. I'm playing, if you haven't noticed, everything on the clean right now. If you use distortion, let it be secondary, because distortion will cover up your mistakes, and you want to hear if you're making any mistakes. Then once you get tired of it, go ahead and kick your distortion on. That's distortion. That's clean. So this one, we're going to pick the 5th fret, low E. You're going to see in your tabs 5, 6, 7, 8. Don't worry about speed. That's always the last thing to be focusing on. Clarity is what we want, and the technique is a triple hammer-on. You'll see the notation for that. Pick the 5th fret. We've got our first finger there. Now fingering does matter with page 2. As a matter of fact, for the rest of this lesson, it's going to matter. Pick, hammer to 6, hammer 7, hammer to 8. You'd have pick, hammer, hammer, hammer. Distortion will actually enhance, so you don't have to hit it as hard. So you can bounce between the two, but you want to build up the hammer-on strength. Okay, and the calluses, I'm not sure where you stand with the calluses either. So from there, do the same thing, but go to the A string, 4th fret, 4, 5, 6, 7. From there, we're going to move to the D string, go 3, 4, 5, 6. From there, go to the G string, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just picking the first note. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 on the B. Pick, hammer, hammer, hammer. And then on the high E, go to the 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll try it with distortion. Sounds like a video game, huh? Anyways, that can be split into other things. One of them is, instead of hammering all of it, you can practice just hammering the first 2 fingers, of each string, and then finger 2 and 3, and then 3 and 4. Alright, so you can always break these into smaller exercises. Number 3, pull-offs, speed, soloing, and this is in the key of E major. And here's what you got. First finger, 4th fret, high E, pick, pull. So you're going to pick it, snap it. Pinky, 7E, pick, snap that to an open. Double dots means repeat, so you're going to do that 4 times. Do the same thing on the 5th and 8th fret, pulling off to the open. Pick, pull, pick, pull. Same thing, go 7 and 10 this time. 7 open, 10 open. And then we got a big stretch here. 8th fret, pull to open, and then 12th fret, pull to open. Things to keep in mind. You may need to lower the thumb for some of this stuff. Sometimes having it anchored will restrict you, so keep in mind, have this at least center neck on these. Number 4, pinky, 8 on the high E, pick, and then pick the 5th fret, so you can set them both down together. Hammer 8, pull off to 5, pull off to open, and do that 4 times. pick, pick, hammer, pull, pull. Do the same thing now, but we're going to go 7, 7th fret, 4th fret, set them both down. Hammer 7, pull 4, pull open. Once again, now we have a 5-note pattern, same concept, 4 times. Make sure to hammer hard and pull hard. Speed is the last thing that matters, right? Then 10th fret, high E, 7th fret, high E, set them both down, pinky and index, same concept. Pick 10, pick 7, hammer 10, pull 7, pull open. Do that 4 times. And then same thing, 12 and 8. Pick, pick, hammer, pull, pull, 4 times. And here we go. I'll play it with distortion and I'll speed it up a little. And there you go, the end of part 1.